Writing songs for the church is probably the hardest song to write out of any song because we're always singing about the same thing. But if the angels are singing the same thing for a millennia, then what are we complaining about? The subject matter hasn't changed. Just the way we kind of describe it has changed.
Hey, welcome to Worship Fuel. My name is Matt McCoy. I'm the president of CCLI and the host of the Worship Fuel Show. We've got two very special guests with us today. First, we've got Paul Mabury. He's a Grammy-winning producer, songwriter, and worship leader who's worked with artists and churches like Bethel, Passion, Hillsong, Carrie Job. He's helped shape the sound of worship music while staying focused on songs that serve the local church. And we've also got John Hartley, known from the duo Phil and John and the Vineyard Movement. Producer, helped to influence a generation of worship leaders through raw, intimate worship songs and decades of ministry experience. And together, Paul and John created House of Worship. It's a collaborative worship project focused on meaningful songs, authentic worship, and the future of worship culture in the church. We'll get into how they approached songwriting and collaboration, what makes worship music resonate beyond trends, and where they see worship culture heading in the church today. Paul and John, thanks for joining the Worship Fuel Show. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You too, bud.
I love this album, House of Worship. It has been on in my office, just in the background. I've probably streamed it now like 100 times, I feel like, over the past couple months. I love it, but it's because I'm a 90s worship kid. I'm a pastor's kid. I grew up in the church. My dad was a vineyard pastor in Southern California in the 80s. And so I grew up with like all of these old classic worship songs. And you guys have taken these songs that are just like incredible songs for the church, and you've kind of given them a fresh coat of paint, new voices, and put this album collection together. And I love it. And I want to ask you, like, where did this idea come from, and why did you feel that now was the right time to create House of Worship?
Just really, I've been in worship for about 30 years since I moved over from England. So just seeing where worship music is and the state of it all, I just thought there's not enough mentors at the moment. So I went to Darlene and Michael W. and said, is there any way we can start mentoring the worship, the up and coming worship leaders better? So we all came up with this idea of let's doing a duet kind of project. So hopefully that's the start of many more things. Hopefully, it could be, just like some kind of retreat or community. In England, Stuart Town, and I don't know if you know Stuart Graham Kendrick, they do a 2 or 3 day songwriting conference, and they're just bringing teachers and theologians to challenge the writers about what the church should be doing. And it's great to have something like that here.
Yeah.
Are you hinting that there might be another album eventually, like House of Worship 2?
Well, if this recoups, maybe in about 10 years.
Yeah. I was going to ask, putting this thing together, the album features a lot of different voices and artists. Like, how in the world did you even get them all in one room together? How did you organize something like this?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
For about 3 months. I think we went to Darlene and Michael in November. They said she was here in February. She said Martin Smith's here in February. Let's try and land that. So that's when we did it. I called Paul. Couldn't think of anybody better than to do it with Paul. Because it's such a massive project. To try and control it, but let the Spirit take lead as well, was one of the things we wanted to. You can't let 24 worship leaders go off and do their thing. So
no.
And Paul was amazing at that, at controlling it and setting the riverbank so the river could flow,
Yeah, it was a very special couple of days. And, as we would have expected, it was like a reunion of sorts. A lot of old friends coming back together. It's, memories like sitting in the lobby just before we're going to do our first day of just going through the songs and just seeing all of these, incredibly impactful and influential writers and song leaders from the church and from a renaissance of sorts, in the, 90s and early 2000s. It would take less time to say who wasn't there than to go through who was there. It was really incredible how many people made time to come and gather and celebrate what happened through that crazy movement. But at one point I'm sipping a coffee with Martin Smith and Stu G and a couple of other friends there, and like Ed Cash walks in and just looked at us and just burst into tears. It was just one of those moments where we just felt, every single person felt so grateful to have been able to experience those things through what God was doing and bringing this like-minded spirit together, just the people who just wanted to bring a new song to the church. A lot of these songs, as they just came, as I was rediscovering them in a way, I kind of fell back in love with not just the song, but the story and how those songs manifested and how they came to be, They came from undoubtedly a more romantic time. And that was because there was just so much more unknown. There was just a lot more of a childlike approach to the situation. There wasn't this kind of well-trodden path through the CCLI, movement, but it was more of this kind of just these individuals bringing a song to their little church or their big church. But it was just this commonality of just these people coming and wanting to do their best for their group of people that were gathering every week to celebrate Jesus. It wasn't more complicated than that. And little did all of us know what God was going to do to it, much like the boy and the fish and the loaves, it went bonkers.
How in the world did you guys decide which songs belonged on this project? Because I think if you were to ask me, like, to come up with a house of worship too, I mean, I could probably come up with a list of like 20 songs, but you couldn't do them all.
It was just a collection of people just saying, well, we've got to start with probably Darlene or Mitals, one of those, because that kind of kicked it off. Then you've got to have Delirious, and you've got to have Redman, or,
Yeah, for sure.
And you've got to have all the Hillsong stuff, or Brian Dirksen, It was fairly easy once you get down that path, but it was hard to leave things out.
They're all they're the staples.
Yeah. And there were also these crazy stories, Here I Am to Worship with Tim, and that song going like wildfire, and then you hear him tell that story, and then with Matt Redman, and these different songs, Heart of Worship came out of a very unique and beautiful story too. So it was kind of the flagship kind of songs, if you will, that kind of really brought a whole new deal to the church. And I remember in real time, like back super early 2000s, when it was all just going like wildfire. I was on tour with some Hillsong friends and Tim Hughes and a bunch of other guys up in Canada. And we were all just kind of sitting, having coffee, just going, wow, God's doing something crazy right now, and it was wonderful to come back and to kind of sit again with these friends and just go, man, God's still doing an amazing thing. But it was a spirit and it was kind of a nostalgic moment, obviously, but there was this rediscovering of the same spirit. There was this kind of, it's hard to put to words, but it's like it was like when the T-shirt was brand new, it wasn't like faded and old, it was like this brand new experience. And from the congregation, from the people to the people leading the songs, there was just this kind of wonder, this childlike wonder,
It's also lovely. I don't know if it's out yet, but there's some round table moments where they're discussing the words, and it's lovely to hear. Like Leland and Pat Barrett, Chris McClarney, people, and Charity Gale all talk about how these songs impacted them.
Right.
And that's one of the things we want to do, is pass the baton well to the next generation. And the younger ones, the 20-year-olds, let's get to them and start.
For sure.
Let's steer the ship well,
Yeah, they're young worship leaders are rediscovering these songs as if they're brand new.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's funny looking at the young guys too, as we were going down and recording these songs, like it was such a joy to see the look on their face, like going, dude, this is so cool,
Yeah.
They're kind of geeking out that there's these kind of, the people they've looked up to and kind of just done their best to embody their the way
Yeah.
they come at it, and yet now we're all shoulder to shoulder, and just I really did my best to put the right band together. It wasn't produced as much as it was just, well, we've done this 10,000 times, so let's just come in and keep it simple. There was no outfits. It was like, we all just there hanging out and singing songs together. It was really special.
There was something like that. There was no stage. There was no platform.
Yeah.
There was no lighting, really. Minimal. We wanted to keep it. And most people were in just normal gear.
Yeah.
Actually, on the album, I don't think there was any fixers.
No.
Maybe a couple of guitar fixers, but we kept it all live, because that's how the old worship albums used to be. Now,
that's right.
You leave a recording now, and as long as you've got a good click, that's all they need.
Yeah. No, it was too easy.
Yeah.
The only things we did was occasionally we just had to put out some sonic fires where there might have been a noise that we had to get rid of, but it was like, it's a very live experience.
Yeah. As a kid, I remember attending some of the Vineyard Music live recordings, and those were just so raw. I mean, they pressed record, and then what happened.
Yeah. But they carried an emotion, didn't they?
Yeah.
And an energy that
they did.
Somehow we've lost that in some of the live stuff now.
Yeah.
So what about the arrangements of these songs? Did you did you just get the band in and be like, hey, let's just play it as we want to play it? Or did you rearrange everything? Were there spontaneous moments?
I definitely took the bull by the horns there. I just, met with John and he, we, finalized songs, who's going to sing what. And then, I started what I did was I basically recorded the whole experience in the studio here and put it together with the guys, and then sent it out to everybody and said, this is what we're doing. There's going to be enough moving parts on the night. So, we kept, it wasn't like bricks and mortar, but it was definitely a bouncy castle, you had
to have a plan, some sort of blueprint.
And, obviously with these song leaders, worship leaders coming in, we knew that it was definitely gonna, be a very organic thing, which we were ready for. But I definitely, we had a very clear plan going in.
Was there any spontaneous moment that
For sure.
hit the album? Okay.
Almost on every song. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think one good thing that Paul did, and I was probably totally the opposite. I was going to, let's reimagine these songs. And Paul said, no, let's just do, these songs are right. Just let's do better quality masters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be, I think, the genius of it.
And they're very just like what you could play in a church. So I actually played at a church a couple of weeks ago, and they were doing like an old classic worship song theme. And I used the tracks and arrangements actually for this. I did I Could Sing of Your Love Forever.
Yeah.
Because I think that arrangement just feels so good. And then also the Open the Eyes of My Heart. Oh man. Like that just brought all new life to that song. So you guys have both been in worship music for a long time, in songwriting, and I'm curious from your perspective, like what is it about these songs that makes them uniquely what they are? Like, am I just nostalgic? Was it just a moment in time, or is there actually something that is different about them? Because when I listen to them, like it just like, man, it gives me shivers. I don't know if it's just like bringing me back to when I was a child, or if there actually is something unique about these songs. What do you guys think?
I think they are unique, but I think at the time around then there was a lot of revival talk, and a lot of revival was happening with, especially Vineyard. There was Toronto, and that impacted England big time.
Yeah.
So you got where Matt, Stuart Townend, Martin, they were writing from underneath that pastoral teaching of that. And so you sense that, and I think the Australia was the same with Hillsdale.
For sure. I think that also it wasn't the beginning of, but it was definitely an explosion of writers using more common day language. It's interesting. This is somewhat of I don't think it's controversial, because I think there's seasons in the arts as much as there are in any kind of area of life. But it was a song season writing about what we were doing in response to what God is doing and has done. You know, like a lot of songs were written through hymns. It's about what Jesus had done for us, what God is, the Father has done for us, what the Holy Spirit is doing. And then a lot of these songs are about, here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here's my heart, Lord, here's my offering. It was a season of like people responding through song. And then sonically, there was this kind of permission globally to be contemporary, to make music that sounded like U2, make music that sounded like Coldplay or whatever. And these things have kind of been, somewhat looked upon as being good and bad. But, that aside, God was using these songs and people were connecting with them, and it was bringing people to church too. And it was allowing people to have, these moments where I agree with you. I think a lot of it is nostalgia. It's like that feeling when you first gave your life to Jesus, with all the colors in the world seem more vibrant. There's something about that time in your life. Like I Could Sing of Your Love Forever is an incredible song because when it's going, you feel like you could sing it forever, Yeah. So think about that. That's like when everything comes together, art and science with the perfect combination. The reason why there's not like this, when you listen to a lot of these songs, you're not wondering why they've been successful. They're extremely well crafted. It's like
it's a good song.
They've been really well put together. Heart of Worship just embodies just the basics of a song. Like there's not this crazy, bridge or this huge big chorus with massive intervals. It's a song that anyone can sing. Yeah, and it's been really well crafted by, great songwriters. And it was interesting coming back together with putting this amazing group of people together that you're like, yeah, you know what? Like, these are some of the best songs that have ever been written for the church, period. And they're being led by some of the best song leaders ever. And so that part of it is not miraculous. That part of it's 10,000 hours. That part of it's, David running at Goliath with a stone and going, you got no chance against me. I killed a bear. I killed a lion. This isn't miraculous. I've worked really hard. I protected the sheep. Now I'm going to kill you. And he does. He sits under the tree or wherever he sits and plays the instrument and became a master of that. And then God used that in incredible ways. So to me, that's the beauty of what we do. The miracle is what God does with our offering, right? But the offering so often is has been very well crafted, and that night when you see someone like CC1 and sing, she's one of the best singers on the planet, So is it crazy that God is using her in the ways that he has done? No, not at all. But it is really wonderful to see someone who has been given such an incredible gift be such an incredible steward of it and kind of really show other incredible singers how to come at the whole thing very grateful and very humble. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense, but it's like there wasn't any moment that night where we're like, wow, how did this song do? Like, how did this song be so sick? Because, every one of these songs just kind of sing themselves. It's incredible.
Yeah, right. The lyrics are just so simple. Like, as I've just been listening to these songs again, I'm like, wow, the language we're using in worship in those days, I feel like is different. There's something about like modern worship music where I feel like we've gotten more creative and poetic, and like it's kind of like mind-boggling good lyrics, like really like mind-boggling lyrics. I'm thinking of like So Will I. Like you listen to that song and you're like, oh my gosh, my mind's blown by these lyrics. But then like I sing songs to my kids every night, and last night, and my youngest son is like, hey, sing me a new song every single night. So I'm not singing new songs. I'm just going backwards in time. And last night I sang a song. I don't know if you guys remember this, called Better Than. Right. And it's like, your love is better than all things. Yeah. And I don't have the strength of words to tell you truly how I feel. Yeah. And as I sang that lyric, I thought, it's kind of an awkward it's just a different language. Like, I feel like worship songs don't say that anymore. Like, I don't have the strength of words to tell you truly how I feel. Like, almost like it's like a love song or but a lot of these older songs have that. Do you think, my question for you guys is, do you think worship music now, has it gotten too complicated, like too complex?
Well, we're in a different season right now. I don't want to say anything critical. And man, like, I'm 52 and I've never known the church not to bring a new song. So
right, we're
going to have different expressions of the same gratitude and the same story. And while writing songs for the church is probably the hardest song to write out of any song, because we're always singing about the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But if the angels are singing the same thing for a millennia, then what are we complaining about? So it's like
totally
the subject matter hasn't changed. Just the way we kind of describe it has changed. And I think now my only critical thing I would say is I just get agitated when I can hear the artist deliberately trying to find a cool word or like a term that's fancy, but it's kind of like to me when someone's wearing a hat, but the hat's kind of wearing them, it's like,
it's like, are you talking about my hat right now, Paul?
No, your hat's cool. You know what I mean, though? It's like, it's when things are just like, they don't need to be that complicated.
Yeah.
But in defense of that writer, like there's what else? We're all trying to find new ways to say something that's been said so many times. Yeah. So
sing to the Lord a new song. And how do you say something fresh? How do you say the same thing again? But in a different way that maybe hits different, cuts differently.
Yeah, but I think in saying that, like, there's different chapters in a novel, right? For a reason. There's different times. There's different, as I said, there's different seasons. And, for the songs in the church, I think we've gone through seasons where the language in the song sounds very feminine and very romantic, and then we go through seasons where, as artists, we should be aware and go, you know what, we need some more masculine songs, and then write some more songs that are like more masculine. And that's our job. To me, it's like to keep thinking, okay, where are the holes? Like where are the places in our songs in the church where we don't have this, so let's go get that. Let's write a song for the big dude sitting in the third row, and he just got dragged to church, and he thinks all these songs are girl songs. Because in a way, he might be right. Like he deserved to have maybe he needs an "It Is Well" song. Like that hymn is masculine. It's a very much a guy response to the love of God,
If you look at the old hymn writers, they wrote on everything, didn't they?
Yeah. Yep.
From collecting food for a harvest festival, or even they had songs for what happens when a church splits.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so it's good to have that vocabulary, and let's paint with a wider color palette than we do now.
Yeah. And I actually think in saying that, what John just said there, I think that's why I think in the body of Christ, that's why artists who are writing specifically for the church they're gonna write better songs when they're connected to a body of people, like when they're talking with their pastors and what are we teaching on Sunday, and then like right into that. It's funny, I remember going way back into the late 90s. I was chatting with Reuben Morgan, and he said, like a crazy high percentage of pop songs are all co-writes. And I went, yeah, you're right. And he said, no one writes songs together in the church. Now, you wouldn't think that now, but going back then, writing songs in the church, they kind of happen like the Moses experience, where you go up the mountain and you come down with the 10 Commandments.
A lot of the house of worship songs were like that.
Right. Yeah. They come down the mountain and here's this song, Well, the funny story is about that is Ruben wanted to write with me, and I just never had a piece at the time to write songs for the church. I was writing songs, but for whatever reason, God just didn't give me peace there. However, he kind of said, no, let's do it. So we get in a room at his house, and like 20 minutes in, I'm like, bro, I can't do it. I don't know why. I'm just not, my head's not in it. I said, I think you should write with Ben. And Ben Fielding had just moved from Melbourne to Sydney. And he went, yeah. And they were good old friends from growing up in Melbourne together. The second song they wrote was Mighty to Save. So,
yeah, crazy.
Those kind of things started right there, this whole new movement of people co-writing. Yeah. And then as what God does, which is one of the more crazy things is people started co-writing up in the United States and up in Canada and the UK, this global new kind of permission, if you will, to go and to gather together and write songs,
Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting. I never realized that about pop songs.
Yeah. Back then
that was happening before.
It was already happening, Sometimes God can like start movements, and this is a crazy thing to say, but sometimes he finds it easier to start movements outside the church first. We're a little slow sometimes to catch on.
Where do you see worship music right now in 2026?
That's a John Hartley question. Right?
I'm encouraged by some of it. Actually, I think there's some great songs out there. Yeah, and I like the balance of how many hymns are coming out at the moment. I love that. New hymns or retooled hymns. I like the songs for small groups. I think there's a lot of healthy stuff. My caution always is when everything's label driven, and because that was a success, we want another one like that.
Yeah,
and that's where we just have to be careful all the time.
Well, that kind of doesn't really ever work inside or outside the church.
No,
it just kind of leaves you with an empty expression. But
most of the worship leaders who we're working with here are wise enough and spiritual enough not to be seduced by most of that, So
yeah,
I think sometimes there are artists that you can just tell, their job is to keep pushing the boundaries. Like our friend Joel Houston, that is like 10,000 foot view at him and what he's done is just keep moving the expression tent pegs out, because he's built for it. Not everyone's built for that, but he's one of those guys who, like even when he was super young and wrote like From the Inside Out, it's like, I was like, okay, this is a whole new thing, Martin Smith is one of those guys who's just like, he was put on the planet to kind of push the boundaries. And, one of the best things about making this record together was the actual night was the night, but my favorite time was during that first day. We were all set up as a band, and one by one, they would just come in and do their song. And looking at them kind of each experience this rediscovery of their song, coming away feeling like it sounded so good and they were so excited, gave me a lot of joy. I know it gave John a lot of joy too. But then listening to them sing, like when Martin, for instance, came and he started singing, you were really confronted with the fact that this guy was born to do it. Like, he can't help but to be compelling. He couldn't help but to really grab you. And then we're playing the song with him, but it was like, he literally is like, he was born to bring that gift to the church, to say, hey, let's worship the Lord, and do it in a way that was just so, you could just see God's gift on him, the gifting of being able to lead people in song. And bring all the artistry with it, like to make it really beautiful. And then, Joelie's one of those guys too, who, when he goes into the cave and starts creating, like I'm always excited to see what he's going to do, because I know one thing, it's not going to be what anyone else is doing. And that's what makes that great, But I guess what I'm trying to say is not everyone's gifted to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think some of the most beautiful things we can do as a body, like as a family, is help each other to find that space where you're doing what you're meant to do, you know?
I love that. That's very relieving to me as well. Cause I, you know, as a songwriter, I've tried to force myself to try to write more creatively and more expand the poetic language. And literally every time I write, it just sounds like a 90s Vineyard song every single time. It's just like in me. And like, that just might be my wheelhouse. That just might be the way I write and the way I express.
Well, we've all got patterns and grooves we go down as writers, haven't we? And it's hard to get out of those.
Well, you know, every now and then the flair genes come back, man. Yeah. All you gotta do is,
I know,
you just gotta stick to your guns, and it'll be
just
cool.
Hang on, it's gonna come back. So when you guys think about the phrase "house of worship," what does that actually mean to you beyond music?
Well, to me, it's what I was just saying. The house of worship to me is the house where we come together as a family. It's like we come together, and it's still, even after all these years, it's still hard for me to connect worship with songs, because to me they're just never just the same. They're not the same thing to me, you know. So if the greatest act of worship that I can think of is Jesus on his knees saying, "Not what I want," you know. No, I don't want to do this, but what you want, so I'm going to do that. That's the greatest act of worship, collectively, with laying down your life, right? The greatest act is laying down your life. So in saying that, I feel like songs are obviously a part of our expression. Laughter is a part of our expression. Crying is part of it's all parts of expressing ourselves and responding to the love of God. And so from the art perspective of our offering, worship. So if that's the art part, like, I think our job is to bring our best to the house, right? The house of worship. Yeah. So, but sometimes it is doing something that you don't feel like doing. You don't always feel like getting to sound check at 6:30 in the morning, you know?
That's what sacrifice of praise then.
That's it. But you bring that on a Sunday morning, you know, you may have had a late night, have you had a big week, and you come to the house and you gather together and you bring your best, you know?
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like I'm being a parent right now, but it's really as simple as that to me. Like, the house is where we should bring our best, you know?
I think for me, because I came in from the Kingsway label in England, and then I was at the early days, Worship Together, when all that started. There was a community aspect to it all. And so when I envisage this project, it's always community and preferring each other rather than ourselves. Let's build, you know, someone else up, you know, and sometimes, especially in Nashville, and, you know, we get on this social media thing. It's all about me, promote. Let's promote something else. Let's promote the name of Jesus, you know. So that's what House of Worship for me embodies that.
Yeah. I love both of those. I'll share, for me, as it relates to this album, I think of House of Worship and I think about what's a house and what's in a house, and it's family. And a house also has a father and a mother. And I feel like you've collected all these voices, these people who have written songs, who are in a way the like fathers and mothers of the recent modern worship movement. And there's a lot of young worship leaders that are starting that really just don't. I tell you, I talk to a lot of worship leaders that it's kind of a revolving door a lot right now, where worship leaders stick around for a couple years and then they move on, and there's not like a depth. And I feel like we need these people, these pastors of worship pastors, to be speaking, to be telling the stories.
That's right.
To be teaching about worship. Why do we worship? It's so important that we have those voices and we don't lose them. So I'm glad that you collected them.
Yeah, and it was kudos to Michael W. and Darlene, because we made those exec producers, and just to anchor the whole project. And it's, you know, it's hard to say no to those two.
No, we can't. I cannot say no to those.
So when they ask, you know, and even Michael just playing keys for the whole night just anchored it, you know.
Yeah, he was meant to play the first song on the last song. Like, was it going to be the first song? No, he was. I think he was going to. Obviously, we're going to finish with Agnes Day, but I think he was meant to come in, start the night off, then go off, and then come back in at the end. And I asked him to. He sat down during the day, and the second he sat down, it was like Dad sitting at the table and kind of
felt right.
Yeah.
And I just kind of, in the moment, as my memory serves, just said, I stood up, and obviously he was about to get up and go off because we had just run the songs. And I said, would you consider playing the whole night? And he, his answer shocked me. He was like, are you kidding? I could play the whole night. He was so excited to play. And it just made it just made everything like twice as good. Just having him there, and you know, we had to have a little intermission just for people to kind of get a drink or go to the restroom or whatever. And he walked over to me with tears like coming down his cheeks and saying, I'll never forget this night ever, you know. And you just, you know, it's important for us not to assume in life, you know, because I would just have assumed that he doesn't want to play the whole night. He'll just come in, do his thing. And, you know, he's been doing this for decades, you know. So he was a centerpiece to how special the whole experience was. And it was also kind of a couple of really important, impactful moments of, like, as John said earlier, it really did feel like these moments of passing the baton, you know, like, hey, you know, here, you guys charge now. It's your turn, you know. It was really special.
One other thing was interesting. All the worship leaders just stayed around the circle. Normally, you know, you go to an event, everyone's in the green room talking.
No green.
There was no green room. We didn't have anything like that. But everyone was just there worshiping, soaking in. So I think we all felt the weightiness of it.
For sure. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I love the picture of, passing the baton. Because I know, you had like guys like Pat Barrett sing Everlasting God, I think it was.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like the new generation worship leader.
Those songs felt so good.
I love it. My last question for you is just, what's your hope or desire like happens with this album? Like, it's not like these songs needed another recording, right? Like, they've been covered a million times. But what is like your hope, your deepest hope and desire that this project does? What does it need to do?
Well, I wouldn't want to say what it needs to do. That's up to God. He'll do what it needs to do. However, something special happened through doing the project, and that was coming from Australia at the time and moving to Nashville like 20 years ago now. I saw these songs start in the church, and then I saw them become commercialized to get on the radio, which was kind of commerce getting involved. What's interesting about that is God obviously uses those songs on the radio. But this, in a way, in a really beautiful way, felt like taking those songs back to the church. And one of the reasons why I didn't want to produce them in a new way was because I wanted to shine the light on the song itself, not on anything else. And I knew if we just if we got the best musicians we could to just lay these songs down and allow what the song is about to shine the brightest, and to find the heart of every single song, I think we were able to do that in the most part. And God's kindness, you know, was there at the center for us. Things went really well. They don't always, you know, as we all know. But the night went really well. The days went really well. I think there was this spilling over of gratitude, you know, through every single moment. And my desire is that is what is it continues to spill over into people's homes, into their cars while they're driving, into their quiet times while they're reading or whatever. My hope is that there's this is somewhat of a returning, if you will, that these songs can anchor, allow people to come and kind of just relax, understand God's doing it. You know, Jesus is the one that magnifies. He's the one that takes something that's small and makes it bigger and more useful. So that's my desire for the songs, and they've already done that for me. Mm-hmm. This felt like a coming home for me, like it just like coming back to, you know, what it's all about.
Yeah, it sounds like it did a lot just in the worship community. The people that were there
did for me.
Know, bonding.
Yeah.
Reminder, bringing it back.
We need way more of that, for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
and really quick on that too, because it can sound critical. That would be the last thing that we would want.
Yeah.
But you know, these incredible young guys and girls who are out there doing it now, and they're just crushing it. But they're on tour buses and on planes, and that, like, we know how that feels. And I want this to encourage them. You know, that you're not alone. You're not out there on your own doing this. Like, you're a part of something much bigger, and you're a part of a family that believes in you and is kind of, we want to find better ways to encourage these people who are running hard right now. And not only are these songs, as you listen to them, able to encourage you, but I think bringing the people together was like the biggest and most impactful thing about it, because everyone just felt so encouraged and felt like they're part of this beautiful family, you know, that God has put together. Yeah.
And we've all had moments in our lives multiple times when worship changes everything.
Yeah.
You know, there's an old guy in England called Godfrey Birtle. He's got one song, Just One Touch from the King, changes everything.
Yeah.
So when people encounter God through a song, it you know, opens the doors for everything. Mm-hmm. So what we want to try and do is keep promoting that. Keep in this generation, the future generations. Let's keep it as pure and as holy as we can. Mm-hmm. And God blesses community and unity, you know, so let's try and do that as much as we can.
For sure. Communion.
Yeah.
Amen. That's good. Well, you guys, you've definitely got a huge streaming fan over here, House of Worship. I want to be at the next one. If there's a House of Worship 2, you better invite me.
Yeah.
Well, likewise, we would like to be at it.
I mean, these songs too, I'll just say on behalf of CCLI that, like, I mean, these songs have been like on our top 100 for probably ever since they came out.
For good reason too.
For good reason.
Yeah.
And churches, they have blessed so many churches like all around the world.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just love that you get what you guys have done here with giving a fresh coat of paint to them, and also new arrangements and new tracks. And we've got all the tracks and charts at Loop Community and Song Select for people to play them at their church. I know there's younger worship leaders who are just discovering these songs, and I'm so glad for that.
Well, you know, on that real quick, you know, Ruben, that he wasn't there that he couldn't be there that night. And obviously Mighty to Save was from a much later time, but, you know, we sneaked it in there. But This Is My Desire was the first song that he wrote. And it was when some things kind of fell apart in a very young and early time at Hillsong. And he and a very young Darlene Check just were in and of themselves just praying and asking God, well, maybe I could bring a song for the church because someone else needs to step up now. And Ruben at the time was like learning how to shred the guitar. He was and he wasn't, you know, really working on being a songwriter. And he got this song. And if you go line for line, that was like one of the most beautiful songs ever written for the church. And that was the reason why I was in the night, is because it was just that is the epitome of where these songs came from.
Yeah, right.
I think all the big songs, even now, the big songs have a God story behind them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Someone needs to do some kind of documentary on that.
Mm.
Yeah, I do love that you guys did the video components to this as well, of people sharing the story of the song. And then also the younger worship leader talking about how, you know, when they were 12, like they were playing it in their church youth group.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
I mean,
It's
I'll
awesome.
never forget when my mom, I was like 12 years old and Tim Hughes had just released that album. Can't remember what it was called, but it had Here I Am to Worship on it. Well, it probably was called Here I Am to Worship. And I remember her driving me to the Christian bookstore and we bought the CD and the songbook and we started like, you know, making the copies for the worship band and introduced the song that week. And it was, gosh, it was simpler times.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That's why I use the word romantic, because it just felt like everything was new.
Yeah, it was innocent.
New.
It was innocent.
It was just so new. It was like, wow. And then seeing the way that it was causing people to respond was new, you know? And I remember being able to see in these lots of different churches where it was counterculture, you know, where someone would put their hands up in the air for the first time because the lyrics said, I lift my hands, you know? And I was
right.
like,
That's what we do.
that was like, all right, well, it's kind of stupid if I don't. So,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
it's just like these songs were equipping people with permission to respond.
Totally.
And
There also wasn't so much of it coming out. Like
No.
we drove to the Christian bookstore and like bought the latest Delirious album when it came out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were kind of waiting, and then you would choose. And you know what? We would also play every song on the album. Matt Redman releases a new album, and we played like almost all of them
Yeah.
yeah.
until the next one came out.
I know.
But
It was a lot harder to release a song, you know.
Yeah.
It was just a lot more involved in getting a song out there. And it's wonderful now that we can just like, you know, do what we can do now. But the challenge is that everything's just
It's cutting through the noise now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So much of
Yeah.
it.
so much noise.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I appreciate both of you taking the time to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Everybody listening to this, wherever you are, find House of Worship on every streaming service probably out there and listen to this album. You're going to be blessed. We have all the tracks and charts at Loop Community and CCLI, Song Select. And I hope that you can incorporate these songs into your church, either as brand new songs or bringing them back. So thanks for joining, Paul and
Thanks for
John.
having us, friend.
See you, Ben.
All right. Thanks for watching. Write down in the comments below, what's your favorite all-time classic worship song? Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons to stay tuned for future Worship Fuel shows.